today's episode we are gonna do some de-rusting, because when I was down here doing some other stuff I noticed quite a lot of rust, and I think what I'm gonna do is try and just get rid of the majority of this and maybe the steering rack, just what I can see basically, and where do you stop? Maybe these straps as well, and definitely these brackets. These brackets are an eyesore. So what I plan to do is wire brush it all with a drill attachment, and then give it all a generous coating of some Bilt Hamber's Deox gel. Leave that on for about an hour or so, take that off, and then we put some rust converter on it, and then a bit of paint. So I'm going to do that, and in the time that I'm waiting for the Bilt Hamber stuff to actually convert or kill all of this rust, I'm going to make a bracket for this pipe, because as you can see there's too much movement there, and I want the filter to sit in a specific place, nice and high up and as tight to this turret as possible. So the plan is I'm going to take a bit of strap from that bolt there and then nut and bolt it, well, nut it to this basically, and just pull it tight to where I want it, and that's it, and that should do. I don't think there'll be much movement once that's clamped down. I'll just go onto one of these with an independent nut. So let's get cracking, guys, and see how far we get. Might be setting myself too much of a goal, but if I can get that done today, I'll be happy. Alright, I've given it a quick going over with this thing here, steel wire wheel on a drill. And now I'm going to give it a generous coating of this and leave it on there. This stuff, you basically put it on there, leave it for about an hour, and then wire brush it again, and then wash it off, and it kills all the rust basically. It actually takes it off, it doesn't just convert it. So I'm going to do that first, then I'll use a converter, then I'll paint it. Right, slight change of plan. The instructions on the Bilt Hambers say to wash everything with warm soapy water first and let it dry. Also got these parts here, yeah. So do the same with them. I've just given them a quick light brushing with that drill attachment. Bilt Hamber's in there in a minute, but I have to wait now, wash everything and wait. Okay, I'll put the stuff on. You're supposed to leave it for 30 minutes to an hour, and you're not meant to let it dry. It's supposed to be about 1 mil or 2 mil thick. I was going to do it under that area there, but I lifted that pump and it seems alright under there. It's not too bad. I might come to it later. And then I do want to remove that bracket and see what the racks or that area is like, but I think that might be alright as well. That bracket is rotten, and that nut is, so I need to do something about that. I'll do that in a minute, but yeah, leave that for 30 minutes to an hour now. Oh, and I'm going to put the bonnet down on it as well, just so it's in the shade and it doesn't dry. These bits here have also been coated, and that's the radiator brackets. So I've actually coated them and put them in a plastic bag so they don't dry out, and I can leave them in there longer. Alright guys, it's been an hour. Let's see what's going on. Well, what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to agitate this now. As you can see, the thinner parts have dried out. Agitate it and then I'll come back and wash it off. Alright guys, it looks a lot better. I don't know if that's because it's clean and rust free or just clean. Steering rack, not a lot better. I might give it one more coat of this stuff and then I might just put rust converter on it. But if you can see on here, I think Toyota has a bit of a problem. Every time there's a spot weld anywhere, it tends to rust. So I think the welding material, whatever they used at Toyota, was basically a bit crap. The reason I say that is because even on my sump, the one that I changed out, if you look at that, actually I've got that out, hold on. Here it is. So this is the sump. Everywhere that there was a weld where the baffle plate goes in, there, and around there, if you look inside, there's a baffle plate there, and that's all the tabs where it's welded. It's actually rusted. A bit cleaner under here now. I'll go a second round of that Bilt Hamber stuff. I think if you really went mad at it with a wire brush, maybe you'd get a lot more off, but I'm just doing a quick tidy up in here. I just don't want it to get any worse, so I think the next step is to put some rust converter on it all, and then once it's rust converted, then just paint over it. So these bits in the bag, they've actually come out quite well, so I'm going to leave them. I'm just going to agitate them a little bit and leave them overnight and see how they look tomorrow. These little strips here that I took off, they've come out clean. All the surfacey stuff's gone. There's still a bit of stub and stuff, but nothing structural. So I'm just going to convert all that rust, paint them black again, so they'll be sweet. And then same under here. In terms of my goals for today, I think I was a bit ambitious. I've managed to do what I've done here, and I didn't move that pump. That ABS unit, you can't move it because of the solid pipes, and I don't intend to take everything apart just to move that. So that's going to stay. I did tidy up that bracket a little bit. Probably needs a bit more washing, to be honest. It looks like it's still got some converter on there, but yeah, and that I managed to get that nut off, and that nut's come out, that thread's come out nice and clean, so that's good. My universal joint, I did clean that up yesterday. I know it doesn't look great, but it is all right. There's no play in it, and I put some nice Formula 1 lube in there, so that should be good for a few years. But yeah, in terms of goals for today, I think I was a bit ambitious. I've got this far, and it's already nearly 8 o'clock. The bracket's gonna have to wait till tomorrow now, I think. Yeah, so on a positive note, I did actually find my eManage Blue. So I found that. I dug out the old laptop with Windows 7 on it and the software. So that might be going on pretty soon. I'm just going to sort out a few niggles under the bonnet, or the boot, or the brute, or whatever you want to call it, engine lid. What I do want to do on that is get that pipe sorted out that's hitting the gear linkage. What else? I've got to get all the vacuum hoses in there, link up the blow off valve, or find a new location for the blow off valve, because that pipe's going to get replaced. Yeah, a few bits to do on there, and then I want to get off the ramps. Oh, I was trying to show you with the camera, but it's facing towards my face. Anyway, so I need to get the car off the ramps, just tidy up underneath, and then the management on and have a play with that. I believe I've got a map on it as well, a pretty good one, so let's see what happens. I'm getting quite excited now. I can't wait to drive this bugger down the road. It's going to be hectic, I think. Alright guys, so I've got some rust converter on the rusty bits. You're supposed to give it one light coat. Light. Anyway, that needed quite a bit. But anyway, you're supposed to give it one light coat, and then leave it for 30 minutes, and then give it another coat with brush strokes in the opposite direction of which you did the first time, and try and get into all of the pitting and stuff. But I mean, that side of the car was actually really good. It wasn't that rusty, but prevention is better than cure, so plenty of that stuff going on, and we'll give it 30 minutes and see what it looks like. Alright guys, as you can see here, it's looking good. The rust has started converting into this blacky purple stuff, so I'm going to give it another coat and then call it a night, let it dry 24 hours. Right, so I've let that converter go off overnight, and as you can see, most or all of the rust has converted into this black stuff now. Look at that rack, solid. And it's quite interesting actually, because this rust converter is almost like some sort of epoxy or something. Look how solid that is. That's some that's built on my metal bench last night. I forgot to mention, I also gave these a coat of rust converter as well yesterday, and they've come out alright now, so I'll give them a quick coat of paint as well. And then I've got the two radiator brackets. I left them in that bag overnight, so I'm just going to rinse them off now. They look like they've really come out good. Rust killer has killed a lot of rust, so I'm just going to wash them off now and see what they look like. Alright, so these brackets, they've come out decent. All the surface stuff's gone, but the deeper stuff, the thicker, crustier stuff is still there. So what I'm going to do, I can't be bothered to keep recoating it and leaving it and recoating it and leaving it. So I think what I'm going to do is just get wire brush drill attachment, buzz these down, and then paint them with some nice anti-corrosive paint. And that will do that, I think. Alright guys, as you can see, I've stripped off most of the rust, if not all of it. I used a flap disc, and then I used a drill attachment wire brush to get to the pits. But I'm not 100% happy with that. There's still bits of rust in there. And the paint I've got is not Hammerite, it's this stuff here. no nonsense, easy application, da 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 da. It's for automotive and it's rust resistant anti-corrosive paint, yeah. But I don't know if it's gonna be okay on top of rust, so I think I'll put converter on that and leave it for a bit. Also, the car bits have now been painted. I mean, it tidies it up, it looks a little bit better, but it's not really about aesthetics, it's more about stopping the rust in its tracks. And I've done that, so I'm happy with that for now. And it just looks a bit tidier under here now, so there you go. I mean, there are some other rusty bits, like the anti-roll bar. The anti-roll bars on these cars, as all of you Brit MR2 owners know, are usually flaky as hell. And then you've got that little brace there, but all of that stuff can be unbolted, so what I'm planning to do in the future is get the car up on a ramp, unbolt all of that stuff and then de-rust it. But for the time being, I think we're sweet, so that's going to be that for now. Alright guys, the straps have been painted black now as well. It's just all a bit tidier down there now, it doesn't look as horrible as it did before. And more importantly, it won't get worse, that's the main thing. I mean, at some point, as I was saying, I will revisit this and get rid of as much corrosion as possible and make it all nice and mint. But until then, it'll do. Alright, that's the brackets now with 2 coats of rust converter on them. Beautiful. It's like really converted all of that rust into a solid black something. Anyway, that's done. Just going to paint them and put them back in the car. Alright guys, it's a new day and the brackets are all wrapped up, painted, rust proofed, the whole lot, all done. I decided to use original bolts. I know it's a bit of a shame, but OEM bolts are usually quite good. They do look a bit rusty and there's a danger of rust transfer, so I might change them at some point, but for now they will do. And she's all back together basically. I cleaned up a little bit under here as well, as you could probably see, so I'm a little bit happier now. It's better than it was, and it's hopefully not going to get any worse now. That's the main thing, until I get time to actually clean this up properly. So I think I'll call that done.